Every so often, there comes an anime with such badass characters and has a badass attitude and uses badass lines. It is enough to carry this series to greatness. I will defend this anime to the bitter end, no matter how bad the faults may be. And none of you will dare say anything negative about it while I'm defending it. And while we're waiting for that anime to be made, let's look at Hellsing. Released in 2001, Hellsing is a horror action anime. The story is set mostly in London and revolves around a secret organisation called the Hellsing Organisation, led by Integra Hellsing. They wage a war against the undead, and to aid them, they have the all-powerful, virtually unstoppable vampire, Alucard, who appears to be made out of some kind of magical paper. During a routine mission, he comes across Ceres Victoria, who belongs to a special police group, who have all been killed. Alucard saves Ceres from the target he was sent to silence, but in the process, fatally wounds her. He makes her an offer to become a vampire, and not really understanding what she was getting into, Ceres agrees, leading her to become a member of Hellsing, under the supervision and command of Peter Ferguson. She is also somewhat mentored by Walter Sullivan, a long-time serving member to the Hellsing family, and adopts a new nickname, Police Girl, from Alucard, who she now calls Master. The Hellsing organisation learns of a clever plan. Artificial vampires are being created by implanting a special chip into the recently deceased, and it is up to them to find out who is behind this and stop them at all costs. And that is pretty much the entire story for the series.
I know you're nothing like those creatures. It was uncalled for.
Then why did you feel the need to say it? You humans are incomprehensible. You and the police girl.
Hellsing has such a good basis for an intriguing story, yet they throw it all away to fill episode after episode with story-stopping nonsense. And this seems to be the pattern Hellsing follows. They start something off strong, but then it seems like they just give up. The characters, while appearing to have a strong personality, have zero development.
Halt, traitor!
The music, while mostly good, is very misplaced in this series and doesn't always suit the situation. The story, while promising, has terrible pacing and is filled with a lot of unnecessary fillers that go nowhere. Now, I try to be unbiased towards people's opinions, but I came across an argument on some chat boards a while back, which went along the lines of this. You can't expect Hellsing to have a good story. It's only 13 episodes long, so quit bashing it. You can't expect a good story from such a short series. Come on people, that is no excuse. Have you ever watched Serial Experiments Lain? That was only 13 episodes, and it has one of the most complex and well presented stories I have ever seen in any anime. Paranoia Agent clocks in at only 13 episodes, and the story in that is absolutely fantastic. And then we have Elfen Lied, which is another 13 episode anime. Yes, it does have that one OVA, but the main series is 13 episodes. And for all its faults, there are at least times when it tries to capture some real emotion into the story. So sorry, but no, I don't buy the excuse of Hellsing only being 13 episodes long for the reason that it had a bad story. In fact, it's not even a valid argument when there are a ton of animes out there, all 13 episodes in length, that do real justice to their stories. I think the main problem with Hellsing is it lacked any real direction. There were times when something would happen and I would think, oh, this looks interesting. Or I would see something in the background and think, oh, what's going on there? But it never leads to anything. It felt like this series just didn't know where it wanted to go. And I could never see where it was going either. The Valentine brothers, who took up 2 episodes, were pointless. Nothing was achieved from their appearance. Nor did anything move forward story-wise. Not to mention all of the villains' motivations in Hellsing seem to come down to, well, I'm going to do this because I can, and no one can stop me. And then at the end, we have Set, an Egyptian god, who just comes out of nowhere. No build-up or anything. And the way they did this was like it is expected that everyone would just know the mythology behind him. And the ending is another problem. Don't worry, no spoilers. I hear people say that this is an open ending. Okay, fair enough. I like open endings. But an open ending still needs some sort of direction. So you know your options and you know the limits of where things are meant to go. Hellsing's ending is lazy. It's, well, here you go, you work it out. Not really a good example of an open ending. You want to see a good example of how an open ending is done? Go watch the movie Pan's Labyrinth. In fact, if you haven't seen it, go watch it anyway, because it is a really great movie. In fact, I would much rather spend the rest of the time in this video praising Pan's Labyrinth for all its earned glory.
Pan's Labyrinth.
Another problem with Hellsing is the number of inconsistencies it has. Meet Gareth. He dies 3 episodes in. Trust me, nothing has been spoiled for you. Please note how he is killed, and who is present at the time. See how he is clearly stabbed from behind? Notice that Ceres is next to him. Now, on the next episode, his death is shown again, this time caught on camera.
What is this?
This is a snuff film I found on the internet.
Hear the gunshot? See now how he's alone with no one around him this time?
The Hellsing coat of arms. It's poor dead Gareth.
And this is just one of the many inconsistencies present in Hellsing. How can anyone watch this and not feel insulted when it seems Hellsing was made under the assumption its audience will be idiots? Look, everyone, don't get me wrong. I know not everything has to be a masterpiece or groundbreaking material, and I enjoy watching the odd, idiotic, trashy, brainless mush every now and then as much as anyone. But it has to be fun, idiotic, trashy, brainless mush. And there is a fundamental key difference between stupid fun or fun stupid and just stupid. Hellsing lacks anything really fun. The dialogue is awful and most of the characters are just forgettable.
Hi.
God be with you, child.
I was somewhat interested in Paladin Alexander Anderson, as he appeared to have an interesting backstory, but we only got a small glimpse of it, and the way he always laughed annoyed me. It was like he had some bad joke stuck in his head. Walter seemed like a strong and unique character at first, but he just became sillier the more we saw of him. The animation was hideous at times. The red sky they always had just looked lazy, and I never fully understood it either. I just assumed that's how the vampire saw the sky. Either way, it looked really bland and ugly. Hellsing still has some strong good points. Episode 10 was pretty interesting in terms of character development. However, the next episode they all go back to how they were, like it never happened. The English voice dub was mostly really good. I especially enjoyed Peter Ferguson's voice, who was done by William Morgan Shepherd.
Amen.
Amen.
And Crispin Freeman nailed the part of Alucard. Actually, I have to harp on Alucard for a moment. I know he's really popular and all, but I found him to be such a boring character. He's way too overpowered. In fact, Silver, which you learn throughout Hellsing, is meant to be the only way to kill a vampire, doesn't seem to kill Alucard in the end. His dialogue was idiotic. It was always the same. Show me your power. You're not a true vampire. Come on, come on. And he would always do nothing until the very last minute, and then go in and single-handedly fixes everything. A lot of people would cheer him on, but I found myself going, "You lazy bastard. Why the hell did you send all those soldiers in to die first?"
What does not kill you makes you strong.
And all his fights would go the same way. He's beaten down, then gets up and says, "I will now show you my true power." There's even a couple of times where he's reduced to nothing more than a puddle of blood. Nothing seems to be able to stop him, and it makes him boring. You know what kind of characters I like? Unique ones. Ones you can actually care for. ones that aren't invincible. So when they are put in some kind of jeopardy, you can actually feel for them and want them to somehow come through okay. Or am I missing the point here? You know, when I first watched this, it was on my friend's birthday, and me, him and his sister, we were all having a few drinks. Strange thing is, I thought I really liked this. Maybe if I rewatched it in a drunken state, I'll get some enjoyment out of it. Nope. In fact, I was on a happy nice little buzz, but watching this depressed me so much that I sobered right back up. Though I admit my memory of that night is blurry, I am starting to think that we were laughing at it instead of along with it. Food for thought. What does Hellsing actually tell the families of the soldiers when they die? I'm pretty sure you can only use the excuse it was a terrible boating accident so many times before some suspicion starts to arise. There is a lot of violence and blood in this, a lot of swearing, and some pretty strong sexual themes and situations as well. However, no nudity. But with all the bad dialogue, the Egyptian god who appears at the end for no real reason or plot twist, the pretty much non-existent story, and the dull forgettable characters, I have to say, if you haven't seen this, give it a miss, or go read the Hellsing manga, which is much better.
Spoken like a true soldier of Hellsing.
But all around, there are just so many animes out there that do a much better job telling their story, giving us some memorable characters, and even just giving us some plain old-fashioned enjoyable fun than Hellsing does.
You're fun.
Stop it! Why did it be like that?
You bastard!
So if you haven't seen Pan's Labyrinth yet, go check it out, because it is a fantastic movie. As for Hellsing, yeah, I really can't recommend it to anyone. Look, I will say one more positive thing about it. At least none of the vampires belong to the Sparkly Friends Club. Well, that's the end of my review, so please, pretty please, leave some comments, but don't post any spoilers. And if you like my review, please subscribe. For now, this is Deantay, signing off.
Shoot her, Victoria. It's time to prove you're not just a monster.
Target acquired, sir.
Now, Officer Ceres, take the shot. Target has been silenced. Alucard shot and silenced Target A. Senior Officer Ceres Victoria shot Target B. Roger. Withdraw the unit. Victoria, welcome to the Hellsing organization.